Given your instructions, both ears touch gloves, touch gloves, touch glove.
So a little game being played there. Ricky Thomas and James Toney first not touching gloves. Frank Cappuccino was the winner, however.
It's not going to be another one of those. Tell me it's not going to be another one of those, Barry, please.
Well, as you said, Thomas is all business, but I'll tell you what, so is James Toney.
And you know, when you look at Toney at this weight, he looks pretty good. I mean, he said all along that this is the weight he should be at, and that at this weight he won't lose the stamina that he lost as a middleweight, and that he'll fight 3 minutes of every round, which people criticized him for not doing as a middleweight.
Comes out working the jab strongly. Well, he really made a believer out of me against Iran Barkley. Him and I sat there and watched that fight together.
Sterling performance. I mean, that was about as good as it gets against a highly motivated and well-trained Iran Barkley.
Well, we talked about the fact that we were critical of him early, and the fight that made, I can speak for myself, that made me that way was the fight with Murphy Sosa, which I thought neither of them won.
Yeah, that was early on. That was just before he fought Michael Nunn, and who would have given him much of a chance against Nunn? And as we said, Nunn did well early, but since then, James Toney has continued to hone his skills. There's Thomas. Now, Thomas has a very good left hook, and you saw it there. That's his best punch. Mentioned that he had been 10 rounds with Lamar Parks, who's a very fine middleweight, one of the best in the world. And 10 rounds with Van Horn in a bout that almost everybody thought he won. Had a loss to South Africa that he thinks he won. So he stays in there with everybody. And you can see, when you look at Ricky Thomas, he's going to throw good shots at you.
It's a very good non-title fight for Toney, actually, because he's not in there with a guy who's going to fall down.
You were mentioning Julio Cesar Chavez. Jorge Paez also comes to mind during his championship reign. Fought often in championship and non-title fights.
Right hand by Toney and a left hand behind it. And we've also talked about the fact that oftentimes we see fighters who become better as champion than on their way up, and I think Toney is certainly indicative of that. Norris is another guy who comes to mind who's indicative of that.
Thomas using the jab here early. He told us today, he said, I need to get my jab in because Toney's jab is so strong. To nullify it, I've got to land mine first. Toney digging to the body. Good defensive work by Thomas, though.
Nice right hand up over the top by Toney.
You look at Ricky Thomas, and you just know that what he really needs career-wise for him is to fight some guys that aren't absolute top middleweights and get himself some wins. But, of course, this is a very competitive match right here to see him in.
So we come to the end of the first round. Thomas held his own, but I don't know that he won the round. We'll be back.
Well, it didn't land perfectly, but that's something to look for later. So you can see that Ricky Thomas has skills, good combinations, but Toney blocking virtually all those. And one of the areas in which James Toney has improved is in defense. There you see the numbers in round one.
60 of those 71 punches thrown by Toney, incidentally, were jabs.
You know, if you throw double left hooks like Ricky Thomas just threw, against 90% of the guys, you're going to land both those punches. He didn't land either of them against Toney. Those are good, quick punches.
Toney's just improved in every aspect of the game. His defense is considerably better, although he was always a pretty good defensive fighter. His jab is just terrific. You saw that snapping left jab.
Strong jab by James Toney. You know, as a middleweight, he had such trouble, he says, because of the weight loss. But in so many of his championship fights, what people will remember is how tough it was on him. Against Nunn, he had to come back to win. Against Reggie Johnson, he was decked in the second round, won by a split decision, and had to win the last 3 rounds to win the bout. And he won the last 2 rounds on 2 judges' scorecards to get a draw against McCallum, and the beat goes on. So he had some tough fights, but he came through all of them.
That jab of his is really a weapon. Just a moment ago, it actually caused Thomas to take a step back.
kind of defense that he showed against Iran Barkley. I mean, guys throwing good, quick punches at him, and he's slipping them as if they're nothing. The other thing James Toney's doing in this bout that he did against Barkley is he's not laying in on the inside. That was when he always used to look a little tentative, when he would lay in on the inside with guys and then just look like he's kind of taking breathers. Here he's staying on the outside, boxing.
And it's not to detract from what Thomas is doing.
No, that's the point. I'm telling you, with the hand speed Ricky Thomas is showing here, he'd be hitting other guys. He's not hitting James Toney.
Well, you know, what strikes me just sitting here watching this is we see a lot of very good boxers here on Top Rank Boxing, and then there's about another 10 or 11 or 12 guys, however many, that are just a cut above. I mean, these are the guys who are the champions, who have been champions for a while. I equate that with doing a season of college basketball here on ESPN. And when college basketball is over, I'll go over and watch my local team, which is the Golden State Warriors, play. And pro basketball, the NBA, is a different game. It's a different sport. Well, such is the case here. The champion against a very good challenger.
Here was a move that they worked on Ricky Thomas. When Toney turns this way, they want to throw left hook to the body and land the right hand to the back of the head. No, he misses. Couldn't do the maneuver they talked about today to us, Barry, where he would throw the left hook to the body and then move to his right and land the right hand to the head of Toney. He didn't move to his right because it's so unnatural to do that.
Yeah, and it goes, of course, contrary to what everybody else has tried to do with Toney.
Yeah, when Toney does that, there you look at the jabs in the bout, Toney's doing better. When Toney does that, your natural inclination is to take a step to the left and trying to hit him with the hook. They want to throw the hook, but take a step to the right and hit him in the head. It's hard to do that.
Left hand by Thomas that got there.
He's got an excellent left hook. That is his best punch. Most guys would not block both those double left hooks. Toney did. You're supposed to land one of those two punches when you throw a double left hook. Something should be open, but it wasn't.
It's really a lesson that Toney is administering here, both offensively and defensively.
And look at the activity of Ricky Thomas. He's throwing jabs, he's throwing hooks. They're all good punches, good straight right hands. He's doing nothing that should lead you to believe that he wouldn't be effective in there, but he's not effective.
Yeah, there's nothing to criticize in what Ricky Thomas is doing. We said he came here to fight. He's fighting.
Three-punch combination, and only the hook to the body lands for Thomas.
And in Toney's corner between rounds, they told him slow up a little bit. Oh, good uppercut by Toney.
Smiles at him, still ain't got it. Now, Ricky Thomas is being soft. Every time Thomas throws the hook, the short right hand is there from Toney.
This really is a clinic right now.
It really is. You know what's interesting? Thomas has thrown so many punches, he might end up winning this round in some judges' scorecards because they may not feel that Toney has blocked everything. Yet Toney has probably been the sharper puncher.
So we come to the end of the third round. Hard for me to see it going any other way but the way of Toney.
Herb. Blocking. Blocking. Done a lot of slipping throughout this bout also. Slipping punches. And you know, now here is where, as we were heading around for the punch profile, shows you something. Didn't you think, I did, that Thomas threw a lot more punches than him in the last round? Guess what? Only 2 more punches thrown by Thomas in the last round. Perception is something, but yet the facts are another thing.
Toney starts this round trying to use the body, and look at the totals through the 3 rounds.
Look at that. Toney has thrown more punches, and I have to say, Thomas has seemed busier, hasn't he? And yet, no, not the case.
Come on, don't screw around. There you go. Take it to school, Toney.
Quick
Excellent double left hook by James Toney. James Toney's a different fighter. And there's my scorecard. Most fighters, when they say, gee, I can't keep the weight and it's made me weak, you tend to wonder about him. Not with James Toney. His best days are ahead of him at 168, and he says maybe 175 pounds is the light heavyweight. But I assure you at this weight, at 168, he'll be about 50% better than he was as a middleweight.
I can see him going to 175.
Yeah.
He's got that kind of body. Looks like he can carry it.
He wanted to fight Prince Charles Williams. Williams went off and got beat by Henry Mask. I guess he can go fight Henry Mask.
That's right.
He's got a lot of things ahead of him, as he pointed out in that feature. And it was a crapshoot. They rolled the dice and said, let's have him fight a lot as a middleweight, hope he can make it through it. And then when we go up to super middleweight, they'll have to come to us. We'll be the guy they need. And that's exactly what happened. And I'll tell you, somebody like Roy Jones, I know everybody, thinks of him as the second coming. He needs James Toney more than James Toney needs Roy Jones for a big match.
James Toney wants him, though, so he might not have trouble making that match.
No, not at all. Is there anybody Toney won't fight?
No, you got to admire that.
Yes. Ricky Thomas still throwing pretty good combinations, but most of them are just not getting there. It's really rugged when you're in there against the guy who's hand speed. And Ricky Thomas is a quick-handed fighter, but Toney is just as quick, if not quicker, and more powerful.
Thomas continues to try. He's not just showing up. There's a great uppercut by Toney.
Yeah, he's doing more than trying. He's throwing hellacious combinations that are doing nothing in most cases. Instead, he's getting hit with counter punches.
To go into James Toney's corner, we always talk about corners and the work that's done between rounds, and calm corners always seem to work best. Listen to Bill Miller.
The middle round is going to begin to work for you. When you rip that shot through the middle, back with the left hook, continue to keep jabbing, because he don't like jabs. Continue to keep that jab, because as long as you're jabbing him, you break up any rhythm that he's got.
That's the way it's supposed to be done.
That's good corner work, folks. Here's the uppercut by James Toney. Oh, my. Give Ricky Thomas credit. Look at him. That didn't budge him an inch.
No, Ricky Thomas is really doing nothing wrong. You know, it's just the old thing that a Pinto's not going to win a Kentucky Derby.
And there's the right hand that we see from above. And that's a very apt analogy. Your second horse reference.
That's true. Yeah,
today.
that's right.
And none of them about my horse.
No, Bob.
Bob, yes. By the way, you know what? This weekend, there's the Ben Johnson Pro Celebrity Rodeo in Phoenix is being held.
Is that this weekend?
Yeah, I'm not there, of course. I'm here doing boxing. But people should go out there. It's for a good cause.
They want Toney to work the jab here. See if he does that. Toney hooking.
He's as good a body puncher as you're going to find in the sport. He is just an excellent body puncher. Isn't there an amazing difference between him now than when he fought in those middleweight fights where he would fight in quick spurts then stop?
The right hook. Thomas is still there. That's a hook that puts almost everyone down. Thomas comes right back.
You know what this fight is making me want? This is going to sound strange, probably. This fight makes me want to see Ricky Thomas against somebody not as good as James Toney, and it'll make them